you're looking for the answers, still don't have them. But what I do have is a particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people who mislead, misinform, or misrepresent the sports card industry. So if you don't do that, I'll let it go. But if you do, I'm going to talk about you. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Sports Card Investigator. My name is Andy. I am the aforementioned Sports Card Investigator. And please, 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 if you have not already and you like what you see, even if you don't like what you see, hit the subscribe, hit the like. We are a growing community, and I cannot be more excited for what is to come. So, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that. And I told you guys that when we started this, that I would be transparent in what I was doing and try to give you guys a little insight. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to give you guys a little insight into what my strategy is going forward with collecting and flipping, buying and selling and grading sports cards. So what's going on in the hobby, right? You hear all this stuff about doom and gloom, and it's not a market crash, it's just a correction, and everything's going to be fine. And you've heard me say it before, right? That's all fine and dandy, and it might be fine and it might be dandy, but if we fail to plan, then we are planning to fail. And we have to ensure going forward that we are adapting to the ever-changing landscape of the card community. And this dip in prices, and I'm being very generous. I know a lot of people out there say, well, it's not a crash, it's just a correction. And that very well could be true. But if you look up what constitutes, say, a stock market crash, that's a 10% decline. We're way past that. Now, it's not the end of the world, but we have to face facts, right? And this should not be a surprise to any of us. None of us should be, none of us should be surprised at what's going on, because the prices that we saw a year ago could not ever be sustained. And if you thought that they were, we were living in a dream, and we knew it was going to come to an end. Now, a lot of us, including myself, we did well during that phase in our hobby. But like anything else, as I said before, we just have to change with the times. And as I said before, we should have saw this coming, right? With hopefully, God willing, the ending of this pandemic, things are getting back to normal. People are beginning to get out, get back to work. Things are opening up. But now, with all that stuff, we are also dealing with a thing called inflation. Have you guys filled your car up with gas recently, or seen the prices of things? They're going up. They're inflating, hence the name. So people now need some of that extra income to buy more important stuff. And at least for now, there are no more stimulus checks on the horizon. Needless to say, a lot of factors are in play. And it's funny because you guys who are new to the hobby, you never experienced anything but the great prices and easy flips that we had over the past year. And those of us who have been around the hobby, we've never experienced the quick rise in prices and the sudden spotlight on the hobby that we witnessed over the past year. It was remarkable. It was a modern day gold rush. Everyone was making money on anything and everything, right? The market was reacting to players who had preseason buzzer beaters and good games and treating them like they were 5-time All-Stars. And some of us were turning their cards into windfalls. Today, not so much. So let's have some fun, okay? Let's guess who not the All-Star is, or the 15-minute of Famer. You'll see a price graph right now. And this is an extreme but true example. His Panini Prism spiked, as you can see, his PSA 10 at $810. If you are out there and you bought this card for $810 when you see who it is, message me in the comments. I'm going to send you something because that's incredible. So the even more incredible thing, if I remember back when this guy was having his 15 minutes of fame, some of the talking heads out there were saying he's a buy. Well, that 810 dropped off like a cliff, and right now you can get this player PSA 10 for $30. I'm not saying this guy's not going to be good again, but he's got a long way to go to hit $810. In fact, I am going out on a limb and telling you it will never, ever, ever be that high again. So who is it? Drum roll, please. Bobo. Incredible, right? But this is just one. There's other examples out there. I think there's a preseason where a preseason game that Kyle Guy hit a buzzer beater. His cards went through the roof. I remember I had a bulk grade, which I'll talk about some other stuff about that in a second, but there are no more bulk $9 grades. I had 3 of his cards in there. I think I paid $10 or something for his cards, and I flipped them for 30x. Those days, as Eric Carmen, the great songwriter, those days are gone. So why am I telling you all this? It's nothing you guys don't already know. You know my strategy. I buy cards, I grade them, and I sell them for a profit. That's the plan. But things change, as I said before. No $9 grades at PSA. No $15 grades. No $25. No $50. No $100 grades. No more free lunches, right? But here's the point I want to drive home here. If you are buying cards with the goal to grade and flip, then what I'm about to talk about has never been more important, vitally important, fiscally important. And although it's cliche, and you've heard this many times, many ways, you got to do your homework and research before you buy players. If you don't, you're going to lose. Only look at players going forward that you have the utmost confidence in. Players that by your research will be playing well and relevant in the future. Not these 15 minutes of famers. Not the bubble buzzer beaters or bubble, whatever they were or whatever, or preseason wonders. One-shot wonders. Buy players that will be in demand by buyers. Easier said than done, right? But this will be the key to your success. We do not, and I've said this before, want to be stuck with a bunch of $25, and that's probably on the cheap side, a bunch of $25 paperweights. Maybe a couple, but we don't want a lot, or we're going to be hurting our bottom line to the point where we're going to be really, really in trouble. Now, history will tell us that there's only a handful of players that emerge each year that will be successful going forward. Look down the list, you can name them, right? From last year's class, just off the top of my head, Zion, Ja, RJ. There's probably a few more, but depending on what you have and what you got graded, the timing of everything, you still could make a decent price on these guys. But others not so much, right? Tyler Hero, Cam Reddish, Kobe White, Rui Hachimura. You might be seeing some slides flashing through now, but some of these guys, those PSA 10s that I was picking up for $7 or $8, grading them, I was getting $150, $200 for. I mean, Tyler Hero was over $250, and now I think he's down to like $65 or $70. And other guys that we talked about in the past, PJ Washington, Kendrick Nunn, Brandon Clark. Cut bait? I don't know. But these guys' prices have fallen off a cliff. And I'm not saying these guys are never going to be good players. They just aren't demanding anything close to the price that they once did. And if you're waiting on a $15 bulk or a $20 economy for these guys, and those options now we know are long gone, but if you get back the majority of 10s, you still will be fine. I mean, you paid $10 for a Tyler Hero card, and it's a $15 grade or a $20, or maybe you got an old bulk in there before it went up, and $70, and you could. That's plenty good. But those days are over. I was watching a thread on Twitter. Is that what you say, like watching a thread? But I find myself just watching these different Discord channels and threads about PSA submissions, and it was really, really interesting. Basically, it was about how all these guys were waiting for their PSA submissions to come back, and how all the cards that they had in for grading have dropped like 60 or 70%. And that is the definition of a crash. Now, it might be a crash on cards that they should have been grading in the first place. Well, shame on them. But still, it's a big dip, right? And they're basically saying how they're dreading the return of their cards. And if they could, they would just call and say, ship them back. And this is what I'm talking about. This is why it's so vitally, vitally important to pick the right players. No one will ever be 100% in their selections, but give yourself the best chance to win. So here's the deal. I told you guys when I started this channel I would be transparent to you and tell you and give you insight on what I'm doing. So for me, things have changed. They just have. And there's a lot going to depend on how the grading situation of PSA works out. Okay, let me say this. There has been a lot of talk about grading choices and new grading choices and bad, ugly, good, whatever. But unless I am presented with evidence, financial evidence, that it's beneficial for me to change to PSA to another company for what I do, then I'm not going to do it. Money talks and BS walks. But everyone is free. Of course, you guys are free, and then tell me, what you think, to make your own decision. Free will, right? That's what we always talk about. You guys have to make your own decisions, but what I'm going to do is probably stick with PSA. It's going to depend when their new grading prices come out, but adapt and overcome and reevaluate. So with that said, no more crapshoots, no more dart throwing, no player of the day, no one-hit wonder, one-shot wonders, right? I can't do it anymore, won't do it anymore, not with the price and what we know will shake out with the length of grading. A lot of factors, but for me, nope. And I will be limited myself and targeting guys that I think are just going to have the best chance to succeed long term. And it's not what I think about players. Let me make that clear, because we talked about that before. It's not what other content creators are buying now, or we talked about have bought, right? It's going to be based on professional evaluations. And it won't be based solely on price charts, because in the beginning, those charts are just going to be all over the place. But charts are critical to our success when used correctly. But when speculating on players going forward, listen to the people who know. The scouts, those people closest to the teams. In addition, it pains me to say this, but I must say it. No more base cards. I'm out. No more base cards. Color serial numbers, maybe some autos, and maybe on the rare occasion an RPA, but those are a bitch to gem or mint, and you know it's true. The days of the $9 base card has gone the way of the dodo. It's gone. It's out. It's over with. We have to move on. And one thing to pay close attention to, if select football is a harbinger of things to come, then I might just be going with serial numbers. I heard my friend Mike, Zig, you know him as Ziggy, know, he was telling me, lots of shiny stuff out there for select, lots of shiny, and that's something that we have to keep an eye on, because if the market is flooded with shiny, adjust, adapt, and overcome. And if we don't, we are going to be left behind. So, quick episode, wanted to get on there. I'm hearing so much stuff about it's a correction, it's okay, it's doom, it's gloom, it's hot, whatever. Evaluate what's going on and we will be fine, right? Nothing stays the same. Everything changes. You just have to have that operational plan that when the bad guy shows up, and he decides to bring some other bad guys with him, we have to adjust. We have to find other escape routes, other issues, other things. Just have to adapt to the situation. So that's it for this episode. Next episode, I have something really special planned. I am so excited. I tell you guys all the time, about listening to guys that know basketball, the professionals? Well, I'm excited to tell you that I will have one of the best NCAA NBA talent evaluators on this show. And I'm going to ask him all the questions that you guys want. And yes, I will ask him what players he's looking at, what players he thinks are going to have the best chance to succeed, what dark horse players are out there, and even some players to watch for next year. So that's going to be awesome. Once again, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you don't like what you see, and hit the like, hit the subscribe. Just hit the damn thing. And until next time, take care.